What is good, YouTube? I don't need any introduction. You already know who it is, the Brown Brother. Before we get started, please like, share, subscribe. Definitely, I want to talk about Mr. Marcus Garvey. If you know, yesterday was his born day, which was the 17th. And instead of hopping on the bandwagon with everybody else and doing little uh, tributes or whatever, I wanted to wait for a while and do my own and basically tell the significance of what he did for me. But even greater than just me, because I think I'm going to leave that for another video. I just want to talk about who he is a little bit and cover it. If you don't know who he is, definitely go study him. But let's just talk about it for a minute. Mr. Marcus Garvey was born in Jamaica. Mr. Marcus Garvey was a Pan-Africanist. I pay attention with Black history. When you see it inside of the American textbooks of the world, you'll get usually a simple one little paragraph about slavery, and then you may get something like a picture of Martin Luther King and say Dr. Martin Luther King's speech on Washington, but 1960, whatever, or you put civil rights movement or something of that nature. And that's all they give you because that's all they want you to know. But out of the numerous movements that they were, Marcus Garvey, Mr. Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, the Black Panther, so many Black Panthers, so many of us as great Black people, our ancestors led so many other different movements that helped so many different people and that tried to bring us together on so many different levels that people are afraid to mention. Here was a quote from Mr. Marcus Garvey. I think that will back up my claim even more if I get started a little bit more in detail. He said, "A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots." And that's what Mr. Marcus Garvey said. In addition to that, another quote he said is, "The black skin is not a badge of shame, but rather a glorious symbol of national greatness." So you can already tell just from those two quotes what kind of man Mr. Marcus Garvey was. He was a Pan-Africanist. He believed in so many things that I agree with or that I was taught as well. That black wealth, that love of black self, that we must connect and reconnect back with our roots and our cultures, and actually go back to our place of origin at one point in time. Rather to live fully, or numerous people probably, I don't know how well that will play off now, but I definitely say that everybody needs to take a trip somewhere and figure out your roots and your heritage and figure out your ancestors, because that will be the strongest tie that you have. You must understand that after the physical act of having a child is through, it's basically the two uh, energetic and uh, biological compounds or mixtures of the parents that make one child. So each and every person is basically the two halves of their parents. But in addition to that, our parents are the two halves of their parents and two halves of their parents. So it goes on and on and on and on. So basically, to have connection to our ancestors is to have connection to our greater self in an even greater magnitude, in an even greater form. That's what's so important for black people. DNA structure said that the black woman carries the genes of each and every single woman as in planet Earth, a DNA compound or something like that. So you can tell how amazing that is. You see what I'm saying? But going back to that, in addition, like I said again, Marcus Garvey was just a great Mr. Marcus Garvey was just a great man. And like I said again, you hear about the history books because these are the people that they don't want to teach you about. And it took me a minute before I even knew who he was. It was shameful. I didn't know who Mr. Marcus Garvey was about 13, 14, when I really started being opened up and broadened to who he was. I always seen his picture in the Black history books because I've always had Black literature, Black history, but I never understood his basis until I got a little bit older. And once I understood who he was, I instantly knew why they did not want him inside the history books, because he would spark and inspire a whole nother generation. It's such a fresh breath. It's almost like when I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. It was such a fresh breath than hearing um, one or two things that they put inside history books, and even they misconstrued that wrong, because even Dr. Martin Luther King, the great that he was, how he talked about we needed jobs and economic equality. And although he did say, well, judge a man by the content of his character, not the color of his skin, although he did say, I want a world one day where all the children can play together, black, white, Jew, Gentile. He did say that. Yes, he did. But in addition, Dr. Martin Luther King said that he wanted um, equality. We wanted jobs in the community. Dr. Martin Luther King was what you would call somebody who really cared about the economy, somebody who really wanted a change in the world, and that the history books misconstrue that. And Dr. King himself has said numerous occasions that how he felt that when he taught certain things that maybe people didn't understand, or that he saw the world even different. And he even thought that, and even he, because as a great man, as any great man, you reflect on what you say and what you do. Even he reflected on and kind of thought some type of way about the push for hand in hand holding without strong background and will. But if you want to go check that out, definitely hit me up, and I definitely show you a couple of things that he said that even shocked me, because I was such a advocate, student of the American textbooks instead of reading the literature about the man that the textbook wrote about. What you will see is different. But Mr. Marcus Garvey was a Pan Africanist, just a great man, a powerful speaker. He energized thousands of people. And this was yesterday was his 129th birthday, I believe. So you got to understand, he came around even before the civil rights quote unquote movement of the marching and protesting. He came around right. I think he died before both Malcolm X and Dr. Martin. No, he was around. How can I put this? He was around, or he died a little bit before that. So basically his teachings were so revolutionary, because you got to understand, these were the 1920s, 30s, and 10s and stuff. And although he was just over here for a couple of years before the powers that be made sure they did all they could to get rid of him, those few years that he was over here, and particularly in the time period that he was doing it in, was so amazing. Like I said again, Mr. Marcus Garvey will go down as one of the greatest because of who he was, because of what he stood for when it came to the liberation of black people. And in addition, on this day, I believe it's his son or his grandson is seeking pardon from the government, because they put false charges on him just to get him to go back to Jamaica, because they did not want him over here in America, because we live, as of in 2016, just like in the 1940s and 20s and 10s, we live in a very racist and biased and unfair social, government, and any kind of structure or system you can think of. So they did all they could, just like COINTELPRO, just like any kind of form of bullying the black farmers, how black farmers during that time when they could not get a loan through the government or through the bank or whoever, lost 80% of our land, which people don't tell you about. That's why it's so important to own your own things. That's why, again, Mr. Marcus Garvey pushed for us to come together. But they did all they could to push him out, and basically then Trump charges on him. So now his son is trying to um, get them to pardon him and take his false charges off him. And it's so funny. Mr. Marcus Garvey said this. He said, "Our success educationally, industrially, and politically is based on the protection of a nation founded by ourselves." And that place can be nowhere Africa. And even in addition, that he was talking about that, he was teaching us to come together and to not be divided and separate. And that scared people, and that scared those who want to see our oppression more than anything, because of the teachings he was having, because he was telling us all, let's get back together. But Mr. Marcus Garvey was just a great. And like I said again, I don't want to go into full detail because I want you to discover him for yourself. If you have not heard of him, if you have heard of him, then you already know it's no use in me explaining it to you. But I definitely want you to go look at some things yourself. Go watch some stories on YouTube, some documents on some trusted sites. Go listen to Dr. Umar Johnson talk about Mr. Marcus Garvey. Dr. Umar Johnson eloquently and greatly breaks down what Dr. Marcus Garvey means. So just go check out some people for yourself if you never heard of them, because those are the type of people that they're scared to put inside the history book. Because those are the type of people that are always been, always will be true champions of black people, and never at one point in time did he taint or stop that and that's what people were mad at. So they did everything they could to bring false charge upon him. But as we sit up here on his 129th birthday, which was yesterday, they're trying to pardon him. I don't know if there any petitions that's going on or anything that can be signed. I know change.org, a lot of companies do certain things lately. I don't know, are they doing anything or not? But just definitely go check it out. You can Bing it, or I'm probably just gonna leave the links inside the description box below. But this is the Brown Brother. Please like, share, subscribe.